Welcome back to the next part. In the last part, we saw how to install Django REST framework, and we installed it, the version 5, and we also created our virtual environment and our project. Remember, we're working on a task manager project, and this would give us a good foundation on building API development. So we were able to run our server. That's our development server, and we saw the conversations message. So in this part, we'll look at creating our apps. Now, the way Django works is that you have a whole project, that is your main project, which has different apps, right? Now, these apps are like components of the project. So if you're dealing with, let's say, a very big project, you would have multiple apps, and each app deals with a particular feature or main feature of that overall project, right? So in this case, we'll just have one app because, like I said, it's a simple project, but you can have as many apps as possible. So let me give an example. If you're building, let's say, an e-commerce application, right? You might want to have an app that manages the orders. You might want to have an app that manages the products. You might want to have an app that manages the bills, the transactions, right? So all these components of the main project, are in apps, and that is a good way to um, architect your project, right? So now we'll be creating our first app, and to do that, I'll need to stop the server, development server. So you can see I'm still using my what's it called? Terminal here in VS Code. So you can do that using Control C to stop the server. Let's go with it. So I'm going to run. So if you look at this now, you can see I just have the config, which is the project, the roots project. That's a config. I said you can make it task manager if you want. Then your virtual environment created. This is the default database that comes with Django SQLite. You can always use different database, but now we'll be using SQLite. So I'm going to just run it. I say Python manage.py start app. Then start app. Then I'll now write the name of the app. In this case, I want to use projects. So start app projects. Then I would press enter. I press enter key. You can see now I have the project app. And if you look at this place, you can see the project app here. So this is my main project, tax manage project. With tax manager project, this is a typographic error. So this is the root app or the root project, which is config. Then you have this app I just created, in this case, project, as you can see here, right? Now, in this project, you can see we have the init.py, which makes it a package, the admin.py, apps, models, test, and views. This came with the app, right? Now, we'll be looking at them. We won't use all of them, but we'll use most of them, right? Now, what we want to do is, this is where we would put in our models and URLs. The URLs is the route, right? The route. How do we get to a particular address? Is we use the URLs. We'll create that file in a bit. Now, we can proceed now to our models. Now, what we want to do is this. We want to build a project, like I said, a task manager project. So there is a project, and for every project, there are different tasks, right? A project can have multiple tasks, right? So take, for instance, a project is your to build an e-commerce site, right? I'm just giving an example. Now, if you're building an e-commerce site, that is the project, right? So a task could be work on the order feature. Another person task could be work on the product feature. Another person task could be work on the authentication feature. So different tasks. Now, of course, there'll be users who will create a particular project. Then this task that is in the project, will be assigned to users also. So you get what I'm saying? A project is created by a user, definitely. And when a project is created, a project can have multiple tasks, right? And these tasks will be assigned to different users. So it could be like a supervisor creating a project and or a team lead creating a project. And in their project, there are different tasks, and different tasks are assigned to different staff, maybe junior developers or junior employees, right? So we can have multiple projects, right? And each of those projects, there are different tasks, right? So that is what we want to do. So our models here represent our database tables. So the models we create, in this case, classes, we use classes to create our models, represent the tables on the database, right? And the fields represent the fields, literally, right? So we're going to just have three models for this project. We'll have the user model, which would cater for the users of the project. And Django, being a very, very good framework, a solid framework, provides us with an internal user model that we can use. So we don't need to say we want to start building it afresh, though it's possible to do that. But then again, if what you want to do is not something complex, you can always use, and it's advisable to use the built-in user model that Django provides. So we'll have the user model, then we'll have a project model. The project model will handle everything about the project, right? Like the project title, what is the project title? Then we'll have another field called description, then maybe who created the project. Then that's the second model. Then we'll have another model called tax, right? So tax will be under the project, right? So a tax cannot just exist on its own. It has to exist inside of a project, right? So the tax also will be a model, right? Now, the relationships between these models, a user can have many projects, right? So a supervisor can choose to have many projects. You understand? Now, a project can have multiple tasks. Do you get that? A project can have multiple tasks. Then each task also can be assigned to a user. Let me take that again. We are explaining the relationships between these models, right? A user can have one or multiple projects, right? So in that case, he is the owner of that project. A project can also have multiple tasks, right? And a task can be assigned to a user, right? So we'll just proceed with that. Now, as you can see here from Django.db import models, this comes with the built-in. So I can just come and say from Django.contrib.auth.models import user. Right? So this is me importing the built-in user model from the Django framework, right? From Django.contrib.auth.models import user. Now, we can find this if you go to the config, that's the root folder, and go to the settings. Let's see something. You'll see that we have this installed apps. You can see it's inbuilt, Django.contrib.auth, as you can see here, Django.contrib.auth. So this is you can see install that it's inbuilt. And that is where we're getting the user model from Django.contrib.auth.models. We're importing the user models. I hope that is clear. Now, we would now work on the first model, which is the project model. Now, in a way, we already have one model, which is the user model, right? So as you can see here, I'm going to put the project model here. Now, let me explain this real quick. You can see we're having a class project. This represents a table in the database. Models is coming from these models that we imported from line 1.model. Now, this represents the fields in that table. So in this case, we have four fields, apparently, right? But if you check the table, it will be 5. And why is it 5? That's because there's going to be the ID field, right? Which is going to be the primary key of this table. Now we're not putting it there, but Django would do that for us, right? It will do that for us. So you don't have to say, let's start creating the primary key to do that for us. It's also important to know that you can choose another field to be your primary key. But if you don't explicitly set a field to be your primary key, Django would create an ID. In this case, like project ID, an ID for that table, which will now be used as a primary key. So in this case, we have 4 fields: name, description, owner, created at. Now, let's take it from the last one. Created at, this is using the date time field, auto now, and equals true. What does this mean? This means whenever we create an instance of this project, the date should be added automatically. That's what it means, right? So automatically add the date and the time. You can see date time field. Now we have owner equals models of foreign key user. Now this user, I believe you know where we're getting it from, line 2. The user that we imported, the user model, right? On delete equals models of cascade. This means that if we delete a parent information, the child information should also be deleted. So in this case, let's say we delete a user, then the project also should be deleted because the project was created by a user. So if we delete the user, then the project that user created should also be deleted, right? That's what it means. Related name equals project. We'll see this, what this means. This is just a way of referencing this project using the user model, which we'll look at shortly. Description, another field is equals to text field, right? Text field is usually big, right? So we can write multiple things. The blank equals true means it can be empty. Name is equals to model.chat field. Maximum length is equals to 255. That's the character length, 255. Then here, the string, right, self, what we are saying is return the name. So if you are calling the project, if you create a project, of course, you have to create a project and put in these details, right? If you want to see it, it will be, instead of us to have an object, this is what would show, the name. That's what will show, right? Now let's create another model. This is just for the project model. Let's create another model, which will be the tax model. So we're going to do that now. I'm going to put that here. So you can see here, we have the tax model. Now, this has more fields compared, unlike the project field. Sorry. Here we have the title, description, status. Now, this status is a field, and you can see the chart field, maximum length is 20. Now, choices here is equals to status choices. Status choices, as you can see on line 19, is a tuple, right? A tuple of tuples. So this is just like options. You know, we have pending is equals to pending, in progress equals to in progress, done is equals to done. So in case, uh, and by default, you can see it's pending. That's the default value. So whenever you create a tax, by default, the status will be what's pending. Then, depending on the state and the progress made for that tax, it can be changed to in progress or done. Project is equals to models of foreign key. Now, just like we said, a tax belongs to a project. It cannot exist on its own. So that's why you can see foreign key here. Then on delete equals to models of cascade, just like I explained, whenever you delete a project, then the tax, corresponding tax should be deleted as well. Because it doesn't make sense if we create a project, let's say project title, project name, build, let's say fintech app, right? Now, there's a tax in that project, build fintech app. Let's say the tax, let's say build database, right? Now, if the fintech project has been scrapped or deleted, then that build database tax should also be deleted, right? That's what this means. Now, related name is equals to tax. Like I said, this is just a way to reference the tax using this project. So we can say like project.tax. Now, assigned to, and that foreign key, this is a foreign key field, right? You can see it is referencing the user model. And we know where we got this from also, from the user model we imported up. Now, on delete equals to model.set null, and null is equals to true. It can be null, right? It can be null. That means it's a tax can exist and it has not been assigned yet to someone. That's what it means, right? It can exist without being assigned to someone. Then blank equals to true as well. Then it's created at, just like I said, date time field. Automatically, the date and the time it was created will be added to it. Then just like I also explained, the ID will be the primary key. Now, return of the title, this basically means that the title is what will be showing when we are checking it on the back end, right? That's what we show. So you can see the foreign key, it helps us to understand the relationships between models, right? The on delete, like I said again, when a parent model is deleted, then the child is also deleted. Make sense? Then the related name, like I said, that allows us to reference the object. So in case we can say project.tax, right? We can reference object. Um, the auto now view this automatically add the date and the time to it. Now, having done this now, what we just need to do is to run our migrations, right? So that these models can be successfully registered in the Django framework. Now you can see we have two projects here and two models, I mean, but we're using three models because there's the user model, the project model, and the tax model. So I just run python manage.py, make migrations. Sorry, migrations, yeah. So if I do this now, you see no changes detected, right? No changes detected. Then, okay, I think there's something I'm missing. Let me see. I need to add this, what's it called now? Um, I need to, there's something, I should have added this already. In the installed apps, whenever you create your apps, you need to, since we installed REST framework, we need to also put it here. So we need to have REST framework. We need to put this here. Then we also need to add this project that we just created, the project app. So any app you create, right, you need to register them in the apps. That's the settings, the root configure, the root project. In this case, I named it config. Like I said, it can still be your project name. So you need to register them here, and I didn't do that before. So um, I've just done it now. You can see REST framework, which we installed alongside Django, then project. So let me run this make migrations again. So now you can see it now, right? Migrations for project. Project migrations 001 initial.py. That is this migrations init. You check it now. You see. Now there's nothing here so much, at least if you check this, you don't see where's it again, project. You don't, yeah, you can see it now. So this is it here, right? This is the database. This is Django writing our models in Python, and converting it to SQL to the database, basically, right? So that the Django ORM. So basically, you don't need to understand this. What is just important for you to understand is your models. So you can see it has created the project model and the tax model. For like I said again, we created two models, but we're using three models in essence, right? Which was the user model. Now, I haven't done this now. I will now run the next command, which is Python manage.py migrate. Now, this would migrate every other thing. Remember here it said we have 18 unapplied migrations, right? So by the time I run this, all the 18 unapplied migrations will be migrated now. So you can see them. Everything that's all these are the built-in apps and every other thing that Django uses, right? And plus our own migrations, which is this project.001, this one here. It has now run everything completely and successfully. So having done that, we have our models already. Now, there's just something I would like us to see. We can see these models. Let me close the root folder. Let me close the migration. If we come to this admin now, right? Django provides us with a user face, an admin user face, a user interface, I mean, that we can sign into to view our models, right? Like on the back end. And this is really useful, to actually have um, a good visual, right, of what you're doing. So you're not just doing a lot of things on terminals. You're not getting visuals. So the admin provides us that leverage. So what we need to do is we need to register our models. We can just import it from the models. So we can say from this dot means this, right? From this dot models import. We created two models, import project, comma, then tax, the tax model. So we have those two models. So we can just register them admin.site.register. Register the project model. And we do the same thing for the dot site.register for the tax model. So this way, we've registered our model successfully, right? And if we go to the admin on the user interface, we can see this here. Now, as it is now, there are no users. Our project does not have any user. It does not have any project. It does not have any tax. We've created a model, but there are no data there, right? Now, we need to create a super user, which we'll now use to log in to the admin interface. To do that, we can say Python manage.py create super user. It's together. So you can see it here. Python manage.py create super user. It's together. Then it will ask you to put your username. Just put in your username. Email address. I'm going to leave this blank. You can put it if you want to. It's fine. Then your password. I'm going to put the password. So you can say I'm typing it, but nothing is showing. And that's just because of security reasons so that, no one gets to see your password. But just type it. So once you're done and the password matches, you'll see this message, super user created successfully. And having done that now, you can now you can go to the admin route and check it. So if you run this command again, Python manage.py, run server to run your server, you should now see that it's working fine. Then if you visit this route, but you now visit this route, you have to go to the admin you have to go to the admin. Let's go to the admin now. So I'll just come here and type /admin. So if I do this, you can see the administration user interface. So I'll just put in the super user details I created and I'll log in. So with this now, I should be able to see, you can see this is the built-in users modules that Django provided for us. If I click on it, so that it will just have one user, which is the super user I created. Right, and that's this here. You can see first name, last name, stuff like those. Now, it's important to know that this super user should not be given to any other person except maybe the developer, basically, right? If you're building a project for a client or something, you don't give them super user access. You can create an and a staff user role for them or an admin role for them, but not the super user, right? Except you also want to hand it over to them, and you are there. Maybe they have the technicality to handle certain things on the back end. But if not, you, the developer or the client, should be the one to have the super user admin. Except maybe if you're building for a client and the stakeholders or the highest, ranking staff there, because the super user can do and undo, can delete things and it can edit things. So you want to be careful who you give the super user um, status to. Usually it's just one person, should be one person or just few people. Now you can see the project app. Like I said, you can see models in the project application. Can you see that title? If you have other applications, other apps, then they would also just come down here. And their models also would come down here, right? But because we're just having just one app, you can see this is the model. So if you click on this, you'll see there are no models here and there are no data here. Zero project. You do the same thing for the tax, you see zero tax, right? Now let's see if we can add a tax. You can see I am signed in already as the super user, so that I'm a user, right? I'm signed as a super user. I'll just create a demo project. I'll say demo project. And I'll just write here, this is a demo description, right? Of course, the owner is admin. And you can see now, I'm not adding the time, that's the date, because that will be automatically done. So I'll just save this and it has been added successfully. Now you can see it is the name that is showing. And that is why that self.name, when we did that dev string to return something, this is what is showing. That's what this means. Demo project 2. Right now, if I come to tax, I can add a tax, of course, under this project. So if I click on add, you should see it now. Let's just see. So title, I can just say demo tax. this tax is to be done. This tax involves building a tax manager app. The tax involves building a tax manager app. Anyways, so status you can see pending by default, it's pending. Remember, we had many options or three options. So you can see in progress and done, right? But by default, leave as pending. Due date, you can put in your date, right? Let's put in 23rd of January 2026. Now, projects, demo project, right? So this is a foreign key. Then assigned to, in this case, I can leave it blank because, I mean, I am the owner of the project as admin. It doesn't make sense to assign it to me again, right? So I'll just leave it blank. Now save it here. And you can see the demo tax will be showing. So now we have one tax and we have one project, right? We have one tax and we have one project. Now, this is just a good place to, to look at everything on the back end, from the administrative side, from the super admin side, right? But like I said again, you want to be careful who you are giving, um, you want to be careful who you are giving the access to, basically, right? You want to be careful who you are giving access to. It's very, very important. You don't just give access to any out person for the super user. So hopefully you can get to this point, and you are good to go. You are good to go. So if you can get to this point successfully, that's good. You've made good progress. You've made very, very good progress. So there's just one more thing I'd like us to do before we wrap up this very part. We can just come to this place. I'm going to terminate this. I'm going to stop the server now, right? So then I want us to just look at this here, Python manage.py shell. We'll just look at this. The same thing we did using the GUI, we'll now do it on the terminal, right? So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to import the models, say from, let me say Django.contrib.port.models import, yeah? Then from project.models import project, that's the project model and the tax. I think it's singular, yeah, tax. So we have this now. So I can say, let me see if I can just get the user. I can say user equals to, this is just a variable, right? User, the user model, dot object, dot all. What am I trying to do? I'm trying to get all the users. So if I run this now, you can see I have just one user. That's the query set because we just have one user, right? That's just one user on the database so far, right? If I can also do this way, user equals to user dot object dot first. I say user, it's still the same person, user. So this just give me the first user because the user here is ID 1, right? So now let's look at this. We can now say user.project. So what are we trying to do here? Give me the project that this user created. All right. So let me call this, let me put this in a variable called user one. Well, let me just say admin project. So I'm going to just call this in a variable story. So user.project.all. Now don't forget user is already admin, as you can see. So if I now run admin project, so you can see I have demo projects, right? Which is the project that this user one created. Now you can see where this is useful, this project.all. Instead of me saying object.all, because if you look at, remember that models, we had it here. Where is it? Where is the project? You can select name project. Like I said, it's used to reference back to the project, right? Like a reverse lookup. So that is where this is useful. So you can say user.project, or give me all the project this user has created. That's what it means, right? So we done with the models. We already have two models, depending on the complexity of your project. And it's important to at least, flesh out what your project would entail, all the things your project would have before you proceed. So we just have two models, three in usage, which is with the default user one, then the projects model, then the tax model, right? And this will come to the end. We've come to the end of this part. In the next part, we'll be looking at serialization. How can we serialize this model so that it can now um, be in an API format? Thank you very much. God bless you.